We should be continually endeavouring to render ourselves both agreeable and useful. Agreeable by the accomplishments of our minds, useful by the virtues of our hearts. Needlework, drawing, reading and music, if properly attended, will very happily serve to fill up a lady's time, without bringing any discredit to her understanding. So wrote the matron, agony aunt to the thousands of readers of the Ladies' Magazine or Entertaining Companion for the Fair Sex, a monthly periodical for women that ran from 1770 to 1832. We're here at Chawton House Library, once home of Edward Austen Knight, the brother of a writer who knew a thing or two about being agreeable and useful, and who almost certainly read the Ladies' Magazine, Jane Austen. 2016 marks the 200th anniversary of the publication of Jane Austen's brilliant novel Emma. Chawton House Library is commemorating this event with a major new exhibition, Emma at 200, From English Village to Global Appeal. The exhibition is curated by Dr. Gillian Dow. So Gillian, what is it about Emma that continues to captivate readers?
Well, I think it's one of her best-loved novels, isn't it? I mean, people like the focus on the 3 or 4 families in a country village. And I think this line in the third volume, it was a sweet view, sweet to the eye and the mind, English verdure, English culture, English comfort, is a really evocative one. I suppose in this exhibition, what I was really interested in is that Emma's a global novel, and it was from its first publication. So we're standing next to a case that has the first French translation of Emma, that came out in March 1816, the first American edition of Emma, that was later that year, we think probably around October 1816. This is not a novel that's just about England. I mean, you can use it to explore Jane Austen's reading, you can use it to explore her life and times, and you can use it, of course, to explore embroidery and costume and dress in the period. I always like to think about Mrs. Elton's comments on dress, actually. Here's a nice one. How do you like my gown? How do you like my trimming?
One of the most ubiquitous female accomplishments in the 18th century was needlework. And here in the Oak Room at the Emma at 200 exhibition, we're celebrating women's skills with their needles, just as the rooms beside and below it celebrate their achievements with their pens. The Great Ladies Magazine Stitch Off started when I excitedly tweeted images of rare surviving embroidery patterns in a copy of the 1796 Ladies Magazine I'd acquired. When people tweeted back that they'd like to recreate patterns, most of which hadn't seen the light of day for some 250 years, I thought why not, and put them on a website. Shortly afterwards, Radio 3 presenter Penny Gore offered a further 3 patterns, and soon we had 10 designs that dozens of people around the world were reproducing in historically authentic or modern styles. The results, I'm sure you'll agree, are simply stunning. Today, Chawton House Library is hosting 2 workshops led by Royal School of Needlework graduate Charlotte Bailey, who is teaching 18th century embroidery techniques that many of our female ancestors would have learned even before they could write. Charlotte, why do you think historic needlework is of such interest to 21st century women and indeed men?
Well, Jenny, I think we spend so much of our modern life surrounded by computers, surrounded by touchscreen devices. It's something that modern people can engage with and enjoy the art of embroidery as many people have done over the centuries.
Charlotte's words remind me of one of my favourite Jane Austen anecdotes. Everyone knows the story about Jane Austen sat in Chawton Cottage, dependent upon the creak of a door hinge to warn her against intruders while working on her manuscripts. Less well known is a story recounted by one of her nieces, Marian Knight, who recalls Jane Austen sitting quietly one evening at her hoop with her needle, before laughing, running frantically to the table and scribbling perhaps one of her novels, before quietly returning to her needle again. This is a story that deserves to be told more often. At its worst, needlework was a way to fill 18th century women's leisure time and keep idle hands busy. But it could also be a creative outlet for intelligent women, accomplished in other spheres. The woman who held her pen in one hand could hold the needle in the other. This is what the matron had in mind when she thought about readers of the Ladies' Magazine. And this, the interplay between women's print and material histories, is one of the things so spectacularly celebrated here in the Great Ladies Magazine Stitch Off and Emma at 200 exhibition at Chawton House Library.